Going to a football match in the middle of pandemic feels like an undergoing endurance test in a reality TV show. A pre-match message instructs me to arrive at Hampden Park in Glasgow 3 hours before Scotland kick off against Czech Republic. I must wear a mask at all times. I must take in from all food from my microbank to a plastic bag provided by stadium, and all the catering outlet will be shut. So no fancy burgers or cartons of flat Pepsi to keep me going. When I immediately turn up to the stadium, 3 hours early, the crowds are predictably sparked. The pub outside the ground overflow with supporters wrapped in scarlet flag look like a tempting alternative. But when I suggest to a steward that I might go get a drink ahead of the game, her look of concern crosses her kindly face. Be careful which pub you're going to, she says. They will see you coming. What is she referring to? Could it be the lunchbook baguette for size that I'm clutching? I have given my spare ticket to a real Scot, my friend Alastair, but he's from Edinburgh, so also not 100% at home in Glasgow. We decide to take the device and skip the pub. Inside the stadium, we encounter in the van in the loudest tartan suit I ever seen, including a tiny tartan cloth bag. I pose for a photo with him and he tells me, I had it tailor-made, son. It fits me like a glove. It is not just COVID regulation that make this unique and peculiar tournament. Your 2020 as a peculiar football tournament. Euro 2020, its UEFA still insists on calling it, has also become sucked into the culture wars. National football team are symbol of the nation, but that is not a straightforward task at a time when national identity is so fiercely contested. The pressing issue for Scotland it is independence, for England it is race. It is not it is race. English football team has decided to take the knee before my teeth as a protest against racism. But each time they do it, they are booed by a significant section of their own supporters. Even the government after stating for a while, Boris Johnson Prime Minister condemned the booing and urged fans to get behind the team. But two members of his cabinet, Jacob Rees-Mogg and Priti Patel, defended the protest, with Rees-Mogg suggesting that the protesters are not expressing racism, but condemning the Marxists of Black Lives Matter movement. Players from the England team, whose pre-game press conferences are normally confined to discussing tactics, injuries, and the atmosphere inside the camp, now being asked to react homosecurity. It would be natural to assume that cabinet ministers are better at politics than footballers, but the Johnson government has reason to be worried of the clashing with the England ship. Last year, it went down to an economic defeat when it took a Microsoft vote over the extension of free school meals for poor families. The Manchester United and England Forum mobilized a million signatures behind the petition and forced the Johnson government to change tack. The 23-year-old Rashford preparation for Euro 2020 as UEFA Stadium has also become 2020 has also become sucked into the culture. None are willing to take him in public. None are willing to take him in public. The culture wars over football are not just happening in Britain. The multiracial Belgian team took the knee in Russia in opening game in Budapest. Portugal. In Budapest. The multiracial Belgian team took the knee in Russia ahead of their opening game in the tournament. It was also Budapest. The culture wars of football are not just happening in Britain. The multiracial Belgian team took down in Russia ahead of their opening game in Russia. They were also booed by the crowd. The Russians also protested against Marxism. The Viktor Orban Prime Minister of Hungary, one of the host nations for Euro 2018, as the UEFA students on calling, has also become sucked into the culture wars. 네. 5번 is Victoria Prime Minister of Hungary, one of those named for UN as a festival in certain calling, has also become sucked into the culture wars. The footballers 다시 hold on. Sucked into the culture wars. Also booed by the crowd. From your organization has defended fans who visited the Tecton city, saying the Hungarian see the gesture as a provocation. Orban is himself a right-wing provocateur. Victor here, he termed his right in America by frequent warnings about the elderly dangers of Europe being flooded by Muslims, but even some moderate conservatives are uncomfortable about footballers taking the knee. One prominent Tory thinker in Britain laments me that football has been a political space, but now the national team has become a source of division. I can see what it means. This year's tournament inevitably brings back memories of Euro 96. When England also played their games at Wembley and the whole country did seem to get behind the team in an uncomplicated sort of way. Back then, packed the stadium, all joined in the singing of the Lions, football's coming on. Now the stadiums are largely empty and some of the home crowds are actually bring the players. As somebody who has been to many England games over the years, I know that the idea that the team was never mixed up with politics or race is an illusion. England games have always attracted a substantial number of soldier hooligans and far-right supporters, whose trademark chant is "No surrender to the R8." At the last European Football Championship in France in 2016, the ugly tradition of English football hooliganism re-emerged. When I emerged, another fan that I didn't particularly enjoy being caught up in a near riot, outside a bar in Marseille, I was told curtly, "If you don't like it, you should stay at home and watch the game on television." Football ground in the 1970s was also where I saw the most overt racism that I ever witnessed in Britain. It was routine to see black players bark Bibles and monkey noises. The football authorities and commentators were silent about this for many years, so if the current national side feel they want to make a statement about racism, it is hard to accuse them of bringing politics into a political space. The politics, particularly the racial politics, have always been there. The identity issues are rather different for Scotland. Euro 2020 comes as the Scottish government is ramping up demand for second independence referendum. This is the first major international tournament the team has qualified for since 1998, neatly fitting the narrative of a national revival. Arriving in Scotland for the first game of the tournament, I find the local paper full of optimism. In recognition of the enormity of the occasion, the Scottish government has even allowed school stop lessons to allow the kids to watch the game against Essex live. As a visiting English fan, I wonder how I feel about all this. I grew up supporting Scotland in big international tournaments. I had little options since England failed to qualify for the World Cup of 1974 and 1978. But British identity was less complicated back then. The anthem played for the Scotland side that lined up to play Brazil in 1974 was God Save the Queen, although YouTube recording does not show the Scottish player looking particularly delighted. Today, the crowd and team will be belting out Love Scotland with the stern word that we can still rise now and be the nation again. When Scotland qualified for the World Cup in 1973, there were more than 90,000 people inside Hampden, but today, thanks to COVID, it's a little over 9,000. Far from the joyous return to the big time that has been advertised, it feels pretty black and lonely in the stand. Even if the Tartan army has been reduced to little more than a couple of battalions, they built up Love Scotland loud enough to drown out the conversation. The team started the game with all the expected passion and streamed forward. Their captain Andy Robertson can be seen gesturing to his player to calm down. Then the tech scored, and the air is sucked out of the stadium. At that time, which I choose spend is tolling next to the hand dryer, the warmest spot in Hampton. There's hopeful chatter around that Scotland might be able to turn this around. But only in the second half, the football history is made by the text.
써도 되지.
뭐, 막 던지죠. But only in the second half, football history is made. By the tech, Patrick Schick, the team's center forward, gets the ball on the halfway line and floats ball over the Scots goalkeeper into the net. But it is one of the most brilliant goals Eddie will ever witness. The crowd is now almost totally silent, apart from a tiny group of cheering jacks on the other side of the stadium, and a group of children near me who continue happily shouting for Scotland, while the other around them are frozen in horror. After the match, Alastair reminds me that Scottish fans are used to bitter disappointment. Making the national football team a symbol of the nation is double-edged sword. We imagine them scoring wonderful goals and celebrating with the fans. But what if your goalkeeper ends up floundering flat on his back, tangled them in the net? Euro 2020 has already delivered humbling setbacks for two football match populist leaders. Orban gave permission for a capacity crowd to attend Hungary's opening games in Budapest against Portugal, only to see the national side lose 3-0. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, president of Turkey, traveled to Azerbaijan and sat in a place of honor next to the Azer president, from where he was able to see Turkey go down to a 2-0 defeat against Wales. England fans also have a habit disappointing their most ardent fans. The side often portrayed as the embodiment of what we like to believe are national characteristics: courage, calmness under pressure. In fact, as a recent piece by Jonathan Leo in The Guardian pointed out, England are uniquely bad at holding a lead in a tournament. The numbers seem to suggest they might even be bottlers, and that or heresy, the French and Italians are much better at holding their nerve when they take a lead. If Gareth Southgate, the England manager, can somehow break this cycle and turn England into a winning outfit, he will inadvertently provide a huge boost to the Johnson government that is desperate for symbol of the success of Brexit Britain. But Southgate has subsequently but unmistakably positioned himself to the left of the government on taking the knee. He leads a multiracial team, and he will continue to defend the right to make the statement about a subject other than football. It has become accepted wisdom in Britain that culture wars always work better. Culture wars always work better for the right than the left, but football may be an exception. A poll taken across Europe before Euro 2020 showed 54% of English football fans supported taking the knee, with 39% opposed. If the England team keep winning, the number in favor may rise along with the team's popularity. For once, the right may find itself on the wrong end of the culture war. For the duration of Euro 2020, I will care much less about who wins the culture war than who wins the tournament. For Scotland, Euro 2020 began with a deflating defeat. The England team disappointed their fans almost as reliably as the Scots, just slightly later in the day. On the other hand, this is a weird tournament. It's taking place in the middle of pandemic. The stadiums are quarter full, and England are playing half destiny. I am allowing myself to afford a weirdest outcome of the lot. An England victory.